One of the things I realized is that what we do in human genetics has a large impact on society. It has large impact on discussions regarding human identity and also about race. What is race? Is there such a thing as biological race? So I became very interested in that. And one of the things I realized was that when we educate science students, we typically don't really engage them in that debate about how does the things we're doing as geneticists, how does that influence society, and how does that influence how we interact in society and how we interact with each other.
I didn't take a course like this during my undergraduate studies, but I think it would have been really beneficial for me as an undergrad trying to figure out what I wanted to do in science, because I hope that it will help students to deconstruct the narrative that is genetics and know that they have a place in science, even though it can be not inviting to people of color a lot of the time. This course will really push students to see science as a collaborative effort instead of a dividing factor that we often see. We want to make sure that everybody can come out from this course and say, I understand the mixture between race and biology and how that has created a narrative around human variation in general.
My name is Rasmus Nielsen. I'm a professor in the Department of Integrative Biology. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a computational biologist. I developed methods for analyzing genetic data and methods for evolutionary biology. I'll be teaching Integrative Biology 35 AC, Human Biological Variation. And that course will be looking at human biology, what makes us similar to each other, what makes us different from each other, and how ideas about that affects the way we interact with each other.
My name is Francisca Catalan. I am a PhD candidate at the Department of Integrative Biology here at UC Berkeley. My pronouns are she, hers, and for spring of 2023, I am head graduate student instructor for IB 35 AC Human Variation.
So we're going to start the course by making sure that all the students know something about genetics, about evolution, about human biology that's necessary to really engage in the course. What we'll then go into is to tell the story about how humans originate in Africa and then spread out through different areas in the world. And for many of us, after this journey, ended up in America. We'll look at a lot of the recent genetic evidence to help us tell this story. Then we're going to move in to talk about, well, how does this type of genetic research, where you have different categories, you assign people to different parts of the world and so on, how does that relate to race and racial concepts? So we're going to go in depth is, what is race? How is the ideas about race, how they're constructed, where do they come from, how it's been historically, and how does that work in America today? And we're going to think about how does that relate to biology? Is this something biological? Is it not biological? Can you opt out of your race? Or are you constrained by your biology? So the course also has labs or sections, and they serve two purposes. First, they're meant to help the student learn some of the concepts from lectures, more science part, the human genetics part, evolutionary biology, how to interpret genetic data. So that's one purpose of the labs. But there's also a second purpose. That is to make a space where the students can engage in discussions with each other about some of the topics that are important for this class. About race. What is race? About identity. How is identity formed? And I think being able to engage in those kind of discussions with the scientific baggage that they also get in this class.
I think Rasmus did a beautiful job of really explaining what the biology is, and hopefully we get to deconstruct that in the lab sections and make sure that there is a history of the biology and the race kind of syncing in parallel, but we want to make sure the students understand how society plays a role in all of this and how systemic racism in general has played a role in the narrative of genetics and genomics.
We're doing a lot of efforts, both in section and doing lectures, to try to make a safe and inclusive environment for all the students, so that students feel that they can engage on these topics in a way that is respectful to each other. It's also important for me to recognize that students come from many different backgrounds, and students learn in different ways. And so therefore I'm trying to allow them to have different ways of learning in the class, and also different ways of being evaluated in the class. So for example, if students don't do really well on midterm and exams, they can throw out a midterm and then instead do a creative project where they're trying to, in that creative project, conceptualize some of the ideas from class. And that way, I allow students are very different. I allow them to be evaluated in different ways that hopefully can play into the strength of each student.
Adding these inclusive grading tactics, I think, takes the stress off and allows the student to come and show up in a more holistic manner where they do feel safe, they don't feel that pressure, and so they can come and learn, because this material is so vitally important that we want to make sure that this course is anti-racist in the syllabus, but also in the classroom.
So one of the things I'm most excited about in this course is that we're going to bring in a bunch of different speakers that all come from different communities here in America. And they will be talking about ancestries and origins in their communities. They're geneticists that work on the genetic ancestries and origins, but they will also be able to speak about the oral tradition within the community and how ideas about ancestries and origin affects their community. An example is Keolo Fox. He's a professor at UC San Diego, and he works on Polynesian genetics.
This got me curious about what makes us unique as Hawaiians, namely our genetic makeup. But it wasn't until high school through the Human Genome Project that I realized I wasn't alone in trying to connect our unique genetic ancestry to our potential health, wellness, and illness. You see, the $2.7 billion project promised an era of predictive and preventative medicine based on our unique genetic makeup. That's why, 10 years later, it continues to shock me knowing that 96% of genome studies associating common genetic variation with specific diseases have focused exclusively on individuals of European ancestry. Indigenomics is about science for the people, by the people. We'll be starting with a tribal consultation resource focused on educating indigenous communities on the potential use and misuse of genetic information. Eventually, we'd like to have our own Indigenomics Research Institute to conduct our own experiments and educate the next generation of indigenous scientists.
There are lots of dark roots that come with genetics and genomics, and I think deconstructing that and completely adding an anti-racist and a decolonized factor to the syllabus and to the course is what's really going to revolutionize and really help the students move forward.
So I've been doing a lot of science teaching. I've been teaching courses about evolution, about human genetics, about all kind of technical topics. But one of the things I'm so excited about with this class is the possibility to engage the students about some topics that I think might affect them also personally. What is their identity? Where does their identity come from? So I'm looking forward not only to teach the students something about genetics and evolution, but also to learn from them, because I'm sure that their experiences as Americans with many of these topics has a lot also to teach me.